takes a lot of nerve. I always hated Duke until we started working together. Now I root for them for you.
I don't.
And now this is how I get treated.
Can't help you.
Well, because you went to a school with actual sports programs.
No, I can't. But I just don't like Duke. I like Jay, but the rest, I like
Duke.
Grant Hill personally and J.J. Redick personally.
Right.
But that Duke, just wearing that sweatshirt, I mean, you almost made me cuss just now.
Why?
Because I just look at that. I'm just like,
it's a great sweatshirt. It's perfect.
I don't know why, man.
Pops off the page.
Yeah.
I think I just grew up. I just
against Duke.
I was worried last night, man. I mean, I was worried. I've known Paul Mills, the head coach, Oral Roberts for a very long time. He used to be an assistant over at Baylor. Obviously, they have dudes that can actually go, but they didn't score their first bucket until the 12-minute mark.
I mean, they won by 75 points.
I mean, they didn't score the first bucket until the 12-minute mark. I mean, our defense has been on top of it. So we actually look like a team that should be there when it's all said and done. We'll see.
So maybe y'all in cruise control now.
And you're never in cruise control in March Madness, man.
So with the upsets, by the way, because, favorites went 11-5 outright. We had some big upsets, though. Look, 1.4% of brackets. So the perfect bracket count is now at 1.4% of brackets had Princeton, Penn State, and Furman all advancing, right? That's fewer, one out of 75. Perfect bracket count altogether out of, what do we have, about 20 million brackets?
Mm-hmm. We had 20 million yesterday by the end of our show.
658 perfect brackets out of 20 million.
There you go, the first day.
0.003% of brackets. It's unreal. This is the kind of, this randomness is injected into any kind of sports championship tournament when you have a one and done.
There's randomness definitely on the Princeton side. Look, Arizona had some bad losses throughout the course of the season that I questioned, but I did not have them losing to Princeton. UVA, on the other hand, against Furman was one of those games you're like, because UVA's pace of play is extremely slow. Sometimes offensively they get stuck. And, I hate it for Kihei Clark, but I got to say, it was a bonehead play, man. It was like the first thing you learn in basketball as a guard, right, is, hey, whenever you're going against a full court press, Kihei Clark's it feels like he's been in college for 20 years. He won a championship in 2019, and he made a critical pass against Purdue to lead them to the Final Four. He's made great plays. But when you catch the ball off an inbounds pass, you turn your face, you don't run towards the corners. It's the first thing they teach you. The sideline and the baseline are extra defenders. So for a guy who's a senior in this game, you don't put your head down at 5'8" and just drill the ball towards the corner, then lob a pass over the top. I'm sitting there watching the game, just like, no, what are you doing? What are you doing? Don't do that. And then Furman, man, they got the steal, come down, boom, hit a three. That's how quick it's over.
Key, how much do you think he had on that game? The way he's talking.
I didn't really rock the ACC like that.
I'm sure he had a little bit of chipper somewhere laying around. I'm sure. I'm almost positive.
Yeah, I didn't listen. Yates was yelling at me.
I always know how much Jay has on a game, what level it is based on the level of vitriol.
Jay likes to, play around a little bit with the gambling scene, just have a little fun. And every time I think I think Princeton going to beat them or somebody's going to beat them, and I don't never go and bet nothing. So imagine if I'd have did that. What if I had told you, though, Jay, Princeton going to beat them? How much should I put down on it? Probably could have won some money, man. Don't make any sense.
I don't know how to call it, man. All I do know is off the UVA loss last night, and we'll give Princeton their love because they deserve it with Mitch Henderson. He actually played their head coach. He played 3 decades ago for Pete Carroll when they upset UCLA as a top seed. So they have a lot of love for their program. They play well. But, the UVA thing is interesting to me, Max, because Tony Bennett won a championship in 2019, right? But if you look at the overall body of work, the 2018 loss, to UMBC was the 16 seed beating a 1 seed. It was horrible, right? Then you look at 2020, playing game. They didn't do well. 2021, lost in the first round to Ohio. 2022, NIT. 2023, lost in the first round to Furman. It's the championship gives them a lot of leeway, and Tony Bennett has won 6 ACC championships. There's been dominance in the ACC conference. But when you actually look at the body of work in the tournament, other than the chip, it's been miserable. It's been painfully dreadful like without the chip, like you're wondering if Tony Bennett has a job. You know,
Man,
now
that chip go a long way.
Long way.
It goes a long way.
It's a lot of cats. It's a lot of cats in the NCAA basketball got one chip, and they've been rolling for 50 years, man.
Yeah, no, I'm not questioning Tony Bennett's job at all because Tony Bennett is one of the best coaches in the game of basketball, and UVA's lucky to have him. But when you just look through the prism of tournament success and you see it, you're like, that's not good.
But see,
it's not great.
Having gone to Duke and played for Coach K and been a great player yourself and a champion, to rack up tournament wins, it's nuts. It's not an easy thing to do. It's much harder, I think, than guys who played at that level and went to Duke realize that no one's ever to win 5 chips tournament style is almost impossible.
Yeah, but I'm not comparing that to Coach K, but I am saying,
no, like that usually when you win a chip, you advance. You do better.
Most of the time,
when
you're number one seeds, you're typically going to the Sweet 16. Like you might lose in the Sweet 16 to the Elite 8, right? But you're not going down to a 16 seed. Like you're not going down to a 15 seed in the first round.
You got to pull out those. You got to pull out those tough.
Like look, we had number one seeds yesterday, win in cruise control.
Tennessee outlasted. I passed out before the end of that game, but Tennessee outlasted. That was a tough. I didn't know they were going to win that game.
Yeah. They one of the best players hurt, but
yeah, right, sure. But I'm just saying, you got to figure out a way to win those.
Like
games.
Houston too, Marcus Sasser, right? Like he came out of the game with a groin injury, like that they knew, like that's a big loss for a team.
Yeah, 100%. What's your biggest takeaway that you've seen so far, Jay?
It was UVA.
That's the big one.
That's the massive one for me. I mean, it's also though like Princeton's a great example of this, key, and this is how things are so different than when I feel like we used to play, like 15, 20 years ago. We would come out during warm-ups sometimes.
Get off my line.
Right? Exactly. Warm-ups, myself, Boozer, Dunleavy, and you would see that 16 seed, and they would be looking at you like, damn, we're going against these dudes? Like, that's blah, blah, blah. That's blah, blah, blah. We would have guys try to talk to us during, shoot-around before the game. Like, so what was it like going against this guy? What was it like going – in your head, you know that, okay, we're about to beat these guys by 40. We're going to beat these guys by 35. Like, the game's already over before the game started. Princeton, during warm-ups last night, was looking at Arizona saying, we think we can beat these guys. Mm-hmm. Like, in the first 6 minutes, they're in the game thinking, we belong on the court.
Mitch Henderson is Princeton's head men's basketball coach, was on Freddie and Fitzsimmons. Listen to this.
Those wins are so hard, and you need a special group. We have that. Coach Carrillo would be so proud of these guys. Arizona, I just, when we were watching them, as I started to watch, I was like, how in the world are we going to be in this game? And I thought we really needed to be really tough in transition, not give them second chance opportunities. And then we had to take care of the ball. And I just thought we played so tough right down the stretch. And, then the crowd gets into the game, and just so special. I'm so proud of the team.
Yeah, so they were acting that way, but Coach was doing a good job hiding what he was really thinking, apparently.
I mean, if I had told you that Princeton was going to beat Arizona, who was one of those dominant teams in college basketball, shooting 4 of 25 from the three-point line, would you believe me?
No.
No way. And they out-rebounded Arizona. Arizona has Twin Towers on their team.
Sometimes you underestimate your opponent, and you look at them and you go, Princeton, what
The length. Like I look at Iona and UConn. Iona is a longer team, but they haven't dealt with that kind of length that they're going to see from UConn on a daily basis. Now, you can hurt UConn if you can get them in early ball screens. If you can get Sonogo to not set up in the paint and play the way he wants to play, and you get them in an early ball screen drag situation, now you can hurt them. You can spread them out. But if you start playing half-court basketball with UConn, you're not going to beat them. So I don't know if it's as much who could do it as much as who's going to be able to go to something when their main thing is not working. And that's what's going to be interesting to watch today.
Tom, I've known you for a long time, the Marquette days to the IU days of Victor Oladipo, obviously spending time with you and Vic. And you've had such an incredible coaching career. I'm really intrigued by this next question and how you answer it. What you saw trending yesterday back to the UVA game was Tony Bennett and the lack thereof success in the tournament outside of the 2019 National Championship. Obviously, the memorable loss to UMBC as a 1 seed to a 16 seed. Obviously, the loss the other day, the loss in the first round to Ohio in 2021. as a head coach with the experience that you've had, how do you look at Tony Bennett's overall legacy thus far? Because I feel like people just overlook a 6-time ACC champion, and they want to take it to the lack thereof success in the tournament with these early round losses. I don't think that truly epitomizes Tony Bennett overall.
Oh, no. I think I did a game when they won at least the tie for the championship when they played Louisville a couple weeks ago. And I had the game for ESPN, too. And you sit there and you think about the fact that he's won those 6 championships and how hard that league is. I know the league isn't getting a ton of credit this year, but that doesn't matter. I mean, that's a hard league. I mean, when you got Duke, Carolina, Syracuse, all those teams in your league on a consistent basis, and you're winning like he did, I think that's big. I think what happens is it's the immediacy bias. Is you look at this, and he's had a couple of losses in the tournament, but there's no way that defines him. I mean, if he had one championship in that league, or he was good every once in a while, now maybe there's a different conversation going on, but no way. He's too good a coach. The program, and here's the other thing, and I had an NBA executive tell me this as I was preparing for that game. The Virginia guys usually overreach their draft potential because of all the things that they can do coming out of there. And so all of a sudden, like, you're drafting a guy maybe a little bit higher because he knows how to play. And so look at the pros he's turning out. So I think he's got the whole situation going there. And, again, he's still got a national championship on his record.
I think that was well argued, or at least explained. Tom Crean, ESPN, college basketball analyst, former college basketball coach. Coach, before we let you go, why do you think we've been getting so many 15-2 upsets last couple of years?
Because it's almost like, well, first off, the majority of those teams have had success in a tough league. The low major, mid-major conferences don't get nearly enough credit for the level of coaching, the schemes, the tactics that go into it, and the different ways that you have to win. So they've been through a lot. And I think if they can come in, and again, very few 15 seeds can't shoot and they can't pass. They can. They can pass it, they can shoot it, and more often than not, they're very, very comfortable playing in a spacing game. They're comfortable moving people around. Like, here's another example with Arizona. It's maybe the biggest one on defense is they did not guard the ball because Princeton just absolutely attacked off that dribble. But they brought Ballo and they brought Tubelis out constantly to have to guard on the perimeter. Guard past the three-point line, not to the three-point line, but past the three-point line. They had to guard the ball. They had to guard randoms. They had to guard shooters. And so I think that's what you have. It's unique preparations in a 15 seed. Certainly there's some mentality that goes into it with the 2 seed of I don't want to say overlooking, but it's hard to stay as locked in, especially if you're coming off winning your conference tournament or just playing 4 games in 4 days or 3 games in 3 days. And it's almost like sometimes those teams are looking for a mental break because they jump ahead a little bit. Well, that 15 seed's not jumping ahead. That 15 seed's very, very comfortable playing the way that they have played. And if you don't make adjustments as a 2 seed inside of those games, or if you're not well versed on dealing with a lot of versatility, it's going to be a problem for you. And I think that's what it is.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN Plus right now.